Welcome back to the Huntech Podcast with me, Johan Smit, as your host. We want to give a huge shout out to a presenting sponsor today, My Trophy Room. Preserve your proudest moments with the app's seamless photo features designed to display your hunting trophies like never before. Download My Trophy Room from Google Play or Apple App Store. Subscribe on YouTube and follow us on our social media platforms under Huntech Pro. Whether you're a seasoned hunter, an inspiring outdoor enthusiast, or someone who simply loves the thrill of adventure, you're in the right place. Join us as we bring you exciting stories from the wild, expert insights into hunting and shooting gear, and a front row seat to some of the most exhilarating hunts around the globe. So grab your favorite drink, settle in, and get ready to immerse yourself into the world of Huntech Pro, where every hunt has a story, and every story is worth sharing. Let's get started. Guys, thank you for joining me on another podcast. Since I've started this journey with a podcast, I had a lot of people in mind, and one of the brothers I've met in the industry is from Giving Back TV. Erin, thanks for joining me on today's podcast, man.
Oh, thank you for having me, buddy. It's a pleasure to be speaking with you from around the world, buddy.
Yeah, it's so great. It's I think in 2018, it's back when we met on our first trip. We'll talk about that adventure in a bit, but it's crazy to see how everything has evolved from then, since then. I mean, you've been a few times over here in South Africa. I've been visiting you there in Great Falls, but it's so great that we can connect, from both sides of the world, and we can share like the same journey.
Yeah, it's just amazing. And I tell people this too, that, I'm just a kid from a small town in Montana. And, our circle is usually pretty small. But as you get traveling, you meet people from all around the world, and you meet people that are very similar to you. And when I met you in Beulah, I knew that we were just aligned in so many things. And like you say, nothing happens by mistake. We met for a reason. And here we are 7 years later, man, still doing work together. That's pretty special.
Yeah, no, it's definitely very special, man. And especially with all the stuff that we've been through. I mean, I think that's a great conversation starter. Let's start with our trip in 2018. So I got a call from I think it was a local guide here from South Africa. He told me that he's got a American client coming over and he needed a camera crew. Will we be able to film? I said, yeah, great stuff. And I started chatting with you. So yeah, let's start there. The first night we got picked up with this guy, and the first night we actually spent in the same room.
We did, and when if you remember correctly, he was supposed to pick us up, I think earlier in the day, but he showed up, basically at dark, and picked us up, and he had this little van, and he brought another PH with him. So now there's 5 of us in this little tiny van. The back is full of luggage. We had to hold all of our camera equipment on our laps. And, I'm just like, hey, I've always tell people enjoy the journey. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, this isn't starting well. And you and I and Beulah just met too. And so we're driving down the road and he says, hey, we're going to stop and stay at my friend's house. Yeah, that's fine. No big deal. It's a journey. And yeah, we had one room where we all crashed together, and I think the bathroom didn't have a door. So when Beulah wanted to shower, we're like, we have to leave. And it was that was the first night that we knew each other.
Yeah, it was crazy. It's like, man, this guy's putting us already in difficult situations and stuff. But yeah, I remember the next day we had to get up very early because we wanted to enter into Botswana, and they wanted to drive all the way up the road and enter up at Vic Falls border post. But on our way there, we were caught for speeding, number one. And then we had to stop at a town somewhere to buy an iron. And we waited like 2 hours.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about the iron. That's right. I remember that we were not far from Zimbabwe, but he wanted to go all the way around through Botswana. And come to find out, I guess the tolls were much cheaper. He didn't have any money. And so that caused us to be late. So he's stressed. He's speeding. He gets picked up. He doesn't have money to pay for the ticket. We had to stop for the iron. And then we missed the time to cross the border. So we couldn't even cross the border.
Yeah, I think we needed to be there like at 5 p.m. and we were there like 10 minutes past 5 and they said, sorry, you must come back the next day. So that night you got a room for us at one of the hotels, if I can remember correctly.
Yeah, he pulled me aside and said he had no money, and if I could please get the hotels, he would reimburse me. So I got the hotel rooms. I think I bought dinner, and it was fine. I was like, the kid, he's starting out. I was giving him the benefit of the doubt, but yeah, 2 days, 2 strikes, or 4 strikes, whatever it was. We probably should have known where the trip was headed.
Yeah, if we only knew, man. But I mean, I think this is part of our friendship was like forged in fire, and we came out stronger. But yeah, okay. The next morning we entered through the border post. We still had a far ways drive to. I think we drove like 3 hours, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe so. Yeah.
And then we arrived at the camp. When we arrived at the camp, the concession owner didn't even know that me and Beulah were coming with to film.
No, had no idea. Didn't know you two were coming. Didn't know the other PH was coming. Thought it was just going to be, I won't say this kid's name, but the initial PH and myself, he thought that's all that was coming. So
yeah, it was it was a very awkward situation, but yeah, it was strange how, I wouldn't say you were lured into this, but they asked you to bring with a paying client to cover for the trip and all this kind of stuff to make it worth their while. They promised you a non-trophy elephant, if I remember correctly, and this would have been part of the whole you explaining on your episodes why it's so important to play your part in the conservation. And yeah, when we got there, it was a completely different picture.
It was. When he reached out, he said he was part owner of this operation and he wanted to get some marketing out of it, and he wanted to have me come over and film an episode and talk about the conservation piece. And he said they had a lot of elephant tags and they could donate one for a non-trophy, non-exportable. And I said okay, and he has to bring a client. So I brought a client who was hunting leopard at the time, and I told the client that this is a kind of a vetting operation, that I've never hunted with him. So we knew going in that there could be some hiccups, but man, we didn't anticipate any of the stuff that we encountered.
Yeah, and what was crazy, the whole awkward situation, obviously, people not knowing we're gonna come, and yeah, the rooms I think weren't that was shown to you, and the food was another story. I remember the food was running out on this trip, and we had to drive to town. You actually bought food and waters and cool drink, and when we got back to camp, they locked the kitchen. We couldn't get access to anything.
Yeah, we had basically no food. I mean, it was just crumbs, and I think one of the chef or the cook, I think that lady, you and her and Beulah got along well, and I think she was mentioning that we went to Bulawayo, I believe. Yeah. That's how you pronounce it. And we just loaded up on produce and food and got some hard candy because my client was diabetic, and we didn't want him crashing, having a sugar crash. And water and soda. And then we get back and we go to get it, and it's all locked up. We couldn't even get to the food. I was like, dang, I didn't spend a lot. Well, I mean, I think it was 500 or 600 American. So it was quite a bit of groceries, actually.
Yeah, no, it didn't. Like I said, it was just a very awkward situation to be in. But that's where the story is actually gonna start with us. So through the hardships we faced there, that forged our friendship even stronger. And I think it was like the nights that we were laying in the huts waiting. Oh yeah, okay, let's go back to that. So the elephant that you were promised was never a non-trophy elephant, so it turned out to be a problem animal elephant.
Yeah, what they call a pack animal, I believe is what it is, problem animal. And again, I didn't care. But yeah, come to find out, he didn't have the permit that we were promised, and now we had to hunt these problem elephants. And nothing was as we were told, and here we are in the middle of Zimbabwe, going, how did we get here?
It was definitely like that first. One of the nights, then one of the villagers called us and said the elephants are in the sugarcane fields, the jungle candy. And
jungle candy.
We were about, I think, was it 10 or 15 minutes drive away from that local village, and we went out there. while we were busy stalking this elephant, I don't know if you can recall, but there were like probably 20 other villagers joining us on this stalk on this elephant.
Oh, yeah, we were walking and you'd hear and you'd turn around and you'd see more light and then more light and more. And pretty soon, I think we had 30 people going out to try and get an elephant. And I'm like, at that time, I hadn't done an elephant hunt before. So I'm new. I'm not going to question anything. And I don't even know if you had done one or many at that point, but we're like, this doesn't seem right to take a whole army of people into a field. It was chaotic to say the least.
Whirlwind adventure, that for sure. But like I said, at the end of the day, our friendship came out much stronger through that. And yeah, no, it's just crazy to think that people around the world still take people on rides like this. It's so bad for the community out there. And we obviously always try to showcase hunting in the best manner we can, because we get so much, people against hunting and people that don't want us to hunt. So stuff like this definitely makes our job way more difficult.
I agree. And, we always talk, and you and I talk a lot about this, that, we're kind of faced with an uphill battle when it comes to the anti-hunters and trying to get our narrative out there. But then when you have people in the industry that are so corrupt, that just makes all of us look bad. And that's exactly what was going on this trip.
So your client that you brought with, he was supposed to shoot a leopard trophy and a hippo.
Well, he actually bought a leopard hunt. He said he might shoot a hippo after he got his leopard. But 2 days in, they hadn't even started baiting. And then when they started baiting, I mean, it was just, there was no cats hitting baits. And so he agreed to shoot this hippo. And so he did end up getting a hippo, but I don't think we ever had a cat on the bait while we were there.
Yeah, and that's bad. It's a client that wants to come and hunt specifically a leopard, and he's been to Africa how many times to do it, and to go through something like this, must have been bad as well.
It was a tough situation, and he was frustrated and I was frustrated, and I think the tension just kept building day after day in that camp, and of course when Hendrik pulled me aside and said what he said to me, that just changed the whole dynamic for the rest of the camp.
One night I was lying in bed because there was no windows in front of the hut we were staying in. It was just like mesh. And he got drunk on, I think he was drinking wine. And I overheard him telling the other PH that he can't wait to have fun with my wife, and I was so upset about when I heard that. And Beulah just told me, just stay quiet, and we must try to stay professional with all this, and that's when the stuff around camp became more heated,
It did, and I don't know when he said that about Beulah, but I remember him saying it. I think it was after he threatened me, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you remember what happened, but I know that he had went to town, I think with another one of the PHs and I think the game scout, and they were getting the permits, which, I mean, hey, you should have them before we get there. But then I was told by one of the PHs that, look, he does not have the right permit. We're hunting illegally for your elephant especially. And there was some talk about, he was talking about the ivory and don't worry about it. We'll take care of it. So obviously there was some shady stuff going on there. And I can't remember, were you there around the fire when I confronted him?
Yeah, I think I was in the room with Beulah.
Yeah, so, and all I did, what the one PH told me to question him. This was on day 3, I believe. And I was very nice. I just pulled him aside and I said, again, I won't use his name, but I just said, hey, being a hunting consultant and having a TV show, I have to do things the right way. And I would just like to see your permits, please, just so I can feel better about it. And at that point, he was pretty intoxicated, which was a nightly thing for him. I mean, it was. And he turned to me and he completely got very angry, raised his voice, and was like hitting me in the chest. You remember, he was a little guy, and you and I aren't little guys. But he kept hitting me in the chest, and I just said, sir, I'm not trying to cause any problems. I'm just trying to do my job. And he looked right at me and said, you had no reason to question me. And I think you walked off. The next morning, is when I approached him and I thought, well, he's sober. I'll smooth it over. And I went up and I apologized. I said, I wasn't trying to offend you. I was just trying to do my job. And he turned and looked at me and said, you won't leave Zimbabwe alive. That's all he said, and walked away.
Yeah, that was crazy. I remember that. And yeah, one of the nights I also remember there were government officials visiting him. And because obviously we didn't have windows in our room, I overheard him saying that, when the elephant is on the ground, you know what to do with the tusks. So that's where I really realized that, oh man, we in such big trouble over in this place now. And and that's when we started making plans to get you out of the country.
We did. And do you remember, because I pulled you guys aside and told you what he said. And we had kind of a backstory to this, is we had a friend of ours who died in that same area the year before. And he was a professional hunter. And the story is that he took his dog to go track an animal for a client, and they found his backpack on the river. And they said, well, he stopped at the river and a croc got him. I've been to Africa enough times. You're from Africa. You know that if you track an animal, number one, you're taking a gun. He didn't have a gun. And number two, you're probably not just going to go sit by the water. So we were talking. This was in Las Vegas. We were talking at a trade show about it when he passed away, and we all figured that he was murdered, and we had talked about it. And so these thoughts come flooding back to me. And so after Hendrik said that, I think you recommended I sleep with a 375, which I did. And that was a little eerie. And I remember one night I'm laying there. You're like, there's no lock on the door. I put the dresser up against it. There's no windows. It's mesh. And I'm sleeping with a load of 375. And I'm thinking, how the hell did I get here? How did I get here? But I thought, well, we have to kind of stay one step ahead. And Peter, that tracker, I don't know if you remember Peter. He was walking by me one day. And, I wasn't sure what to do. And so I kind of hollered out, and he was a quiet guy. He didn't say much. And so I didn't really know where his alliance was, but he worked for this guy. And so I hollered at him. He comes over and he goes, what's going on? I said, man, your boss doesn't like me very well. And I was trying to make light of it. And he said, yeah, I don't care for him. And if you need help, I'll help you. And I said, I do. And he just walked away. And he was the one that would come talk to me or you, I believe, and kind of tell us what he was saying behind our back.
Like I said, it was a very tricky situation we found ourselves in. But I remember that that one night he got really drunk again and he passed out, and that was like, okay, guys, we might have a window to escape this place. And I think we made plan to you got signal so you could book your flight back to Johannesburg from Vic Falls, and we drove you to town. I think you stayed in a hotel that evening then.
I did, and because we were going to leave, I mean, there's a lot more to this story, but we were going to leave. Let me go back one part. About 3 days after he threatened me, he asked me to go for a drive with him. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh, yeah.
Because we had voodoo. And so I get in the vehicle with him, and him and I are just driving down to the water. And I thought, oh, this is it. He's going to have people waiting to execute me. And I really felt that. But, where this goes back and forth. And I remember one day he came to me and he said, hey, we have an elephant that we want you to hunt. It's on this guy's property. You guys can go tomorrow. And I remember Peter, the tracker, walking by me, and he never stopped. He just said, don't go. And I was like, what the heck? And I think he talked to you. And that's when Hendrik was telling the game scouts, if my feet hit the ground, that I would be a poacher and to execute me. But then, fast forward, we tried to leave camp, and I think he had taken the keys from the vehicles one night, so we couldn't leave. And the next day I went to him and said, look, I'm leaving a day early. I need to get back to Joburg. I have some business in Pretoria. And he goes, you're not going anywhere. And I said, well, I am. And I knew I had to kind of lie almost. And he goes, well, you owe me $5,000. I said, what do I owe you for? I'm the one who put food in the camp. I brought you a client. And he goes, I just need money. And I lied. And I said, look, everything you've been saying, I've recorded. I've sent it back to the U.S. If anything happens to me, they're going to come for you. And he just says, F you, get out of my camp. And I remember walking out, hollering at you. We already had the suitcases. We loaded up and took off for Vic Falls.
Yeah, that was crazy, man. But I'm so glad that we made it out alive there. It was super crazy. And yeah, I remember we drove into Vic Falls and we had a puncture, so we had to change the wheel there. And then
Flat tire. Yeah.
after that, after that, we dropped you off at the hotel. And yeah, that's how we got up. You flew back, and we we made it out alive out of Zimbabwe.
Well, and it was funny because there was one more little wrinkle. But the next morning, I'm thinking, there's no way he's going to let me leave the country, right? There's no way. And so I go to the front desk. I'm nervous, like I don't trust anybody at this point. And I walk up. I'm like, "Can I get a cab or a ride to the airport?" And the guy's like, "Yeah." And so this gentleman comes and picks me up, and he's not really talking to me very much. And I'm thinking, man, what's going on? Drops me off at the airport. I walk in. I go up to the ticket lady. I check my stuff. And she's typing everything in, and she goes, "Oh, Mr. Throckmorton, just a minute." And she picks the phone up, and she calls. And then I turn to my left, and there's these two very tall black gentlemen in police uniforms walking right to me. And I thought, that SOB, he's going to have me arrested. And they said, "Mr. Throckmorton, come with us." And I'm like, so I go with them. We go into this little room, and we sit down. I'm like, "Can I help you guys?" And they're like, "We need to know what's in your case." And I said, "Which one?" They're like, "The green one." I said, "Well, it's a bow and arrow." And they're like, "Are you sure?" And then I knew what was going on. I pulled out $50 and I said, "I promise you it's a bow and arrow." And they took the money and I got on the plane. But part of me was like, I'm going to a Zimbabwe jail today.
Yeah, no, it was crazy how everything played out. But I'm so glad we made it out there. But since then, I know we spoke a lot about. You found out that we also edit TV shows. We've got a TV show, and we started editing Giving Back TV.
Yeah, I want to say, and correct me, I'm getting older. My memory's not as good as it used to be, but I want to say it might have been season 3.
Yeah, I was just thinking about it now. Yeah,
I think it was. I mean, it's you guys, and you guys have been fantastic, man. We work well together, I feel. And I've worked with other people in the past, and you kind of give them a vision and you give them a vibe, and they just completely miss it. And it's frustrating. And so when they would send over an episode for me to review, I would have no less than 100 changes. 100 changes. And I got PTSD. And then when I started working with you guys, the first 2 years when you guys would send me an episode, I'd get sick to my stomach. I'd like, "Oh, I don't want to do this." And then I'd go through your episode and I'm like, "Oh, there's like 4 changes, maybe." And so I just found that, yeah, you and I and Beulah really work well together. And you've been a huge positive for Giving Back TV.
But that goes both ways, And for us, it's great to know that we work together since 2018. We've been going on now for 7 years. It's crazy the time that we've been working together. And since we started editing on season 3 with Giving Back, it's for us a huge privilege every time to know that we've got another season working with you and that we can help you, take your episode to the next level. And this way you can reach more people and they can see what Giving Back is about.
Yeah, and it's like, and you and I talked when you guys were here. It's about getting the message out, which is tougher and tougher because anybody with an iPhone now has a YouTube channel, and they are a cinematographer, and they have a hunting show because they recorded themselves shooting a whitetail, and that's fine. I mean, we recommend, we encourage everyone to get into hunting and follow your passions. But the problem is, our industry right now is really watered down, and messages get lost. And so messages like from Huntech Pro or Giving Back TV, they get lost. And because people don't even feel that maybe we're even legitimate. And we've been doing this for a decade. So, we have, like we said, we have an uphill battle against the anti-hunters. We have an uphill battle against people in our industry sometimes too.
It's crazy to know that the amount of time and effort and money that we put into this industry, and then to see someone that's just making a video like that and they go, okay, we get thousands and thousands of views, but the stuff that they say isn't even true, and then we know all the efforts we go to, all the struggles we go through. Why do those people get all those views? It's actually like, how are we supposed to get those thousands and thousands of views? But that's if you're part of the mainstream, obviously that's where the people will go. But if we just continue, doing what we do, I'm sure we've reached the right people, and we must just stay strong doing what we love.
And I think that I think the biggest thing is staying true to yourself. staying true to who you are and what your vision is and what your mission is. And I think that's really important. And even over the last 2 years, I've kind of come into my own where, hey, if I don't get as many views I think I should, or if I don't do something like I think I should have, I'm just staying the course, and I'm really getting the giving back message out there. And I feel that the right people will see it. And I'm kind of that old adage. I'm not worrying about who's not watching my show. I'm worrying about who is watching it.
Yeah, when we just right before we started the podcast, I was saying to you the same thing. We know the right people will listen to what we've been talking about, so we must just keep on doing what you're doing, man. But I think we must talk about my visit last year to Montana. Man, it was such a surreal experience for both Beulah and I because of all the years of footage we've edited of you hunting in Montana. Now we would get to see where you're from.
Yeah, I mean, I was excited to have you guys here. I was like a kid at Christmas. I was like, I've been over to Africa, a handful of times, 20 sometimes, and you guys have shown me around, and you guys, and so now I get to show you my part of the world. So it was exciting when you guys came in. For us, it wasn't that cold and there wasn't that much snow. But for you guys, it might have been a different perspective.
I was freezing my butt off, man. What are you talking about? Yeah, I remember you came to collect us. It was like, I think it was midnight when our plane arrived there. And
it was late, yeah.
The next morning, I think we quickly went to the sporting shop there. And then you took us up to your hunting property. And then you showed us the Throckmorton cabin. That was so great to see. And when we arrived at the gate, both Beulah and I saw snow like that deep, and we were like, wow, it's amazing to see this.
And for the people that are watching this, I have to tell everybody there really wasn't much snow. The roads were clear. The fields were clear. There was one little pile that hadn't melted yet. And these two got out and were making snow angels in dirty snow that had been there for at least a week. And I videoed it. It will be on an episode one day.
Yeah, it will be on season 5 of Huntech Pro. Make sure you guys watch that episode.
Yes, I knew you guys were going to have it on yours. So. But no, that was cool. I mean, it was nice to share that part of my life with you guys.
Yeah, but it's like I said, it was so great to see like where you grew up and where your childhood memories are. It's like when I saw that place, I was like, wow, this is where you grew up. This is where you grew up hunting. And it was amazing for us to experience that. And I think the biggest thing for us to realize is we are South Africans that are in Montana. That was like mind-blowing for both Beulah and I to know that we are sitting there with you guys in your country.
Yeah, and sitting there and watching the antelope or watching the white-tailed deer, and that one day we saw the bighorn sheep. I mean, just getting to show you guys some different animals, which, we take for granted. Like you guys probably take for granted seeing blue wildebeest or impala. When we go over, we're always excited. So it was neat that you guys got to see some of the country and some of our animals.
I think one of the unique stuff was the Rocky Mountain expedition you took us. Can you maybe tell our listeners and viewers how that adventure played out and how you guys planned everything?
Yeah, so there's a place that I used to hunt as a kid on the Rocky Mountain front, and it's an incredibly historic area. It's an ecosystem that is just there's plains that go to some of the highest Rocky Mountains that you can ever see. There's whitetail, there's mule deer, there's elk, there's grizzly, black bear, mountain lion, wolf, everything, bighorn sheep. And it's just a great area to hunt. And so I told you guys that we had to leave the house by 4 a.m. And I wish I was recording when I told you that because I wanted to see the look on your face. But so we got up, I think, between 2:30 and 3, got ready and took the 2-hour drive over there. And we got to the trailhead that I wanted to go to. There was already 2 guys walking in and 2 other trucks there. So this area got busy, but no, we started walking. I think we walked over an hour in the dark in prime grizzly bear country with you guys.
Yeah, that was a little eerie feeling. It's like I was walking behind with no rifle. And I remember when I just saw this movie in my head playing this scenery. This is like the perfect scene out of the Blair Witch Project. Where is Erin taking me now?
It feels like that too, because we were walking through that little aspen grove, and there was trees all around us, and it's dark, and it was crisp out. I think it was 11 degrees. So yeah, it was eerie. Trust me, I've been doing this my whole life. It's eerie for us. If any guy says it's not, he's 100% lying.
It was definitely something. It's like I've been on buffalo hunts and lion hunts and all this kind of stuff. When we arrived there was a board that says, "This is beware for the bears." You're like, oh shit, okay, I don't have any rifles with me. But that was like a great experience for both Beulah and I, because we were hiking into the Rocky Mountains. How many people gets to do stuff like that? It's just amazing that you were able to arrange this for us. And I remember we were walking up that hill. I was feeling really short-breathed, maybe unfit. I would say it's elevation, but when you said we must just get to the certain spot so we can see the sun coming and hitting those peaks. Man, when the sun hit those peaks, it was one of the most beautiful scenes I've ever seen.
It's beautiful. And that's what I tell people when you're hunting out there. You want to really embrace everything. You want to embrace walking in the dark, being out of breath, hiking up that mountain, sitting there under a tree, catching your breath as the sun comes over. And then once the sun comes up, it gets colder because all that cold air is coming down. And then we could see for probably 3 or 4 miles. And we got to sit there and glass with our binoculars, build a campfire, have a cup of coffee, and just really enjoy the morning together.
You and Ozzy, you guys must do this a lot because you guys were prepared. I mean, when we got to that spot where I was so cold, I thought my toes are going to get frostbite of not wearing these heated socks and stuff like that. But you guys took out a jet boil, you packed coffee, it was like a perfect moment that you guys created there for us.
Yeah, we're used to that. We do a lot of backcountry stuff where we'll go for sometimes 4 or 5 days. You can just live on your back. So we have to be pretty disciplined about you can only pack so much weight, but you have to have enough water and food and first aid supplies. So we kind of have it down to a science. But we kind of showed you guys the process. We put our little bags out. We each packed our own lunch and breakfast, what you want, what you don't want. And it was just a cool experience. And I think I was going through those pictures the other day, and just a flood of memories came back.
Yeah, it was so great, man. And just thank you again for you guys doing that for us. I mean, it was super amazing for us to experience that. And yeah, I'm glad that we will be able to share that on one of our episodes.
No, I can't wait to see it, buddy. It's going to be awesome.
The other experience you guys, I think it was the next day or the day after, you took us to the Missouri breaks. That was another experience that blew my mind. I think you and Ozzy hunted that area for a bighorn sheep.
For bighorn sheep, which is actually going to be episode 2 of season 9 that you guys edited, coming out here in a couple weeks from this recording, excuse me. But yeah, the Missouri River Breaks is a historic area when you read back with Lewis and Clark and the whole expedition and just the history down there. And it's so unassuming. And you guys saw that. Well, you're just driving. It's just flat wheat fields and there's nothing there. And then all of a sudden you come up and you have to drive down this hill, this dirt road, and it's just the breaks are everywhere, massive cliffs. And it's just a special area.
Yeah, it was super special. And if you guys went to show us where you guys had to cross the river with a ferry and just where I think the previous year your brother also shot a bighorn sheep up there, if I'm not mistaken.
It was a few years back, but he got a sheep and then my dad got one back to back. And so I think we showed you both areas that we were able to find those 2 rams in, that you guys edited those shows as well.
But I mean, that's what makes this so special for us, because we could recall certain parts that we saw in the episode and then to realize, okay, we are there now. So that was a super surreal experience for us. And just thank you again that you guys did that for me and Beulah, man. It was super special.
And do you remember driving down that steep hill and we saw across the hill that cave with that big hole in it? And we were talking about climbing up there because me, I like to explore, but you were like, hey, just fly your drone there. We're going to go do that this spring when the weather gets nice, because that cave looked huge. I want to go see what's in there.
Yeah, I remember that spot, and it was strange for me how perfectly that it was shaped. It's like somebody had to stay there or something had to be there, way back in the days.
I think so too. And I think, there was a lot of Native American history there, and that could have been a place maybe they stayed to, stay out of the elements, stay out of danger. And I just think a lot of the mountain has eroded. I think it looked very different, but I feel that there's something up there, and I still want to hike up there if I can and go inside that thing. I just think it would be pretty amazing. So I will film it if I do.
Yeah, just take a rifle with if you do go there.
Yeah, I'm sure it's full of snakes or mountain lions or something.
But yeah, man, it's like I said, it was just awesome for us to be able to see where you grew up, and we were super thankful that you got to share your part of your life with us. So now we can't wait to have that on the episode of Huntech Pro at the end of season 5. But yeah, no, other than giving back, I know you also have another company called Tru Flight Adventures where you guys book hunts around the world.
We do. Yeah, I started that company in 2018 as well. And it was just, I had went on a hunt to Africa years before that was just nothing like it was promised. Not the one we did. It was actually before that even. But it was just like I couldn't believe how bad that I was lied to. And so anyway, long story short, I decided to get out of my corporate game, my corporate job, and start giving back TV. A year into that, I was like, wow, I actually need to make some money because there's not as much sponsorship money as you think there is. And about that time, a company actually called me, and they had seen the show and said they would like to hire me as a consultant. So I did. I signed up with them. And then a year into it, long story short, I decided to start my own company. And so now we help thousands of clients every year go on trips to, Africa, South Pacific, Argentina, North America, South America, Europe. We have outfitters all over, but we don't have a lot of outfitters. I always say this, but we work with what we feel are the best. They are fully vetted, and we help you from the first phone call to the time you get back from your trip. We help you with every aspect of the hunt.
Now, I've seen some of your episodes of Giving Back. You go on some of the trips with your clients and film their adventure with it.
I do. Yeah, there's times I'll go, and there's actually times here in about 6 weeks, I'm going with 2 clients over to Botswana. They're doing some dangerous game hunting, and they've asked me to go by and film, and then taking a big group down to the Eastern Cape of South Africa, which is a totally different area from like where you guys are at, the Limpopo. And these clients have never seen it. They've seen Limpopo, but they haven't seen Eastern Cape. So I'm excited to see what they think when they see, it's more like Montana than it is anywhere else. Some big mountains over there. But no, the show and the consulting company has been able to take me on a lot of great adventures. And, I'm very thankful for that we get to go make sure our outfitters are still doing good, vet the new ones, and be there to help our clients.
No, that's really awesome, man. And guys, if you haven't seen any of these episodes we're talking about, go check out Giving Back TV on Carbon TV, YouTube. You'll find everything there. But then you'll be able to look back at some of the adventures that we've spoken to already about. But yeah, no, it's great to know that you take your clients on worldwide adventures. Since I've started Huntech Pro, that's been a huge dream of both me and Beulah to go and hunt in different countries. And I think it's 2022 that we started, obviously, going to different countries. And I know it's a surreal experience every time you get to harvest another animal in a different country, and you get to experience that whole culture they have back there, and also what they do for conservation and their efforts to help promote hunts.
Absolutely. And I think that's a big part of it. And I know you guys are aligned just like I am, that these conservation efforts, happen all around the world. And it's just nice to show those stories to everybody. I mean, conservation here about maybe our white-tailed deer is different than the conservation efforts of elephants in Africa. But at the end of the day, there's still conservation efforts to conserve and help these animals. And so it's nice to share those stories with people. And like we say, just really educate people that don't know all the positives about hunting.
So you mentioned that you've got the Eastern Cape hunt and the Botswana hunt you're going on. Do you have other exciting adventures planned for this year?
Yeah, when I get back from Africa, about 3 weeks later, I go to Canada on a spring black bear hunt, which is one of the funnest hunts people can do. And then later this year, I'm taking 2 gentlemen, maybe 4, up to Saskatchewan. They're going to hunt waterfowl in the morning and deer in the afternoon with their crossbows. So that's going to be kind of a cool little different trip that I have. And then a couple potential trips we have that aren't solidified. One would be back to Spain and then one would be to Argentina towards the end of the year. So we should have a pretty busy year. And then on top of that, all of our hunting around here, whitetail, elk, bear, all that stuff.
That sounds like you've got a very busy season planned, but I'm so glad for you, man. And yeah, no, I just want to touch something in on giving back. You don't only show the importance of the conservation and your efforts with that, but you also do stuff for your community. I know you have shown a lot of clay shooting events in your community.
Yes. And this happened just 2 years ago. My niece was one of the first high school kids from my high school, where I went years ago. They started a clay target team, and they were the second team in the state of Montana. And so we went and documented a fundraiser. We got involved. We helped them raise money. And then we went and just filmed. That'll be coming out this year, their first ever state championship shoot. And when I was talking to people there was, I think, 10 or 12 teams now in the state. So we like to document everything. And this particular story is about kids getting involved in not only the hunting, but the shooting sports, which we need to get more kids involved in that.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. But I mean, to know that little school was second in Montana, that's huge, man.
Yeah, only the second one. And they had a lot of kids make nationals this year. And, just doing the research on trap shooting, it's the only high school sport without any documented injuries. There's never been one injury. Football, basketball, baseball, kids are always getting hurt. The shooting sports, they really focus on safety and they really focus on camaraderie. So you get a lot of these kids that are shooting. You might have the jocks, or you might have the bookworms, or you might have the kids that aren't very popular. But when they all come together, they're a team. And so this sport is for everybody. So it's been really nice to kind of see that.
The camaraderie is one thing and the gun safety is another. Now the kids get to learn what the gun safety is about. And I think that's a very important aspect of everything as well. But it's actually great to hear that you said like the different categories, like the jocks and the bookworms and all people like that enjoy the sport. So that's really great to know that it's growing like that on your side.
Yeah. And, it's just going to keep growing. And it's one of those things that we're happy to be a part of. And we like to do a lot with kids and, kind of document them in the beginning. Like I say, any kind of conservation or positive story in the hunting industry, we want to document it and get it out there for people to see like we always say, we'll present you with the facts. You make your own opinion, but we're going to give you the facts.
No, that's awesome, buddy. So I've been sitting around thinking about stuff lately. Do you think there's upcoming stuff that Huntech Pro and Giving Back can do in the future?
Oh, I think there's a lot of stuff that we can do in the future. Absolutely. I mean, the sky's the limit. We have hunting property in Africa, we have hunting property in Montana, and we have 2 TV shows. And we have 4 people involved that are just crazy enough to go try stuff that people think we're idiots for doing, and we still do it. So there's a lot of stuff we can do together, man.
Yeah, so. I know future hunts that I definitely want to do after you've shown me those animals in Montana is definitely mule deer, man. Yeah, those are crazy, insane bucks you guys have up there.
Definitely one of the most iconic animals of the western part of the United States. I mean, they travel, they range from Alberta all the way to Mexico and everywhere in between. And, whitetail is by far the most hunted deer species on the planet. But mule deer, I get more calls from mule deer hunts through my consulting company, probably 3 to 1 over whitetail. So they're a pretty impressive animal.
Yeah, no, like those ones that me and you drove into that one morning, that was beautiful to see now.
Oh.
You remember that one? It was like in a coulee.
Yes, I remember that. And that wasn't far from our property. And we hadn't seen many mule deer the last few years, but seeing some of those bucks, we were just talking about this last night, Ozzy and I, and I'm like, we do a lot of whitetail hunting up at our properties. That's the majority of what's there. But this year we had 2 big mule deer come through. So I'm like, maybe it's time to start getting more mule deer on the place. So we're excited for this fall already to see what's around, because the mule deer population where we're at is actually starting to come back. In other parts of the state of Montana, the numbers are way down. They've had some terrible winter kills. So Montana's struggling right now overall. Our area is kind of unique. We're doing well, but the whole state is kind of struggling for numbers.
Okay, buddy, I've got a few questions for you. Ready for them?
Yeah, I'm as ready as I'll be.
What's your favorite hunt?
Man, my favorite hunt, the first thing just popped in my mind is archery elk. I've been doing it for 40 plus years. It is one of the funnest, most frustrating hunts you will ever do in your life.
You've had this episode that you brought out. You bugled a bull like it was within 20 yards from you and you shot him. Man, that was an insane episode.
Yeah, and the funny thing is we talk about this and people never really feel when they watch the show, they don't feel what we feel. It's different, but I've called in so many bull elk over the years, and I don't care if it's a spike or a big 6 point. It's still exciting when they come in. And I think the one you were referring to was Ozzy's first year of hunting, and she didn't hunt, excuse me. She was just going along as an observer, and this bull started bugling, and I throw the camera to her. She hadn't even run a camera, and I said, "It's already recording. Just point." And she captured the whole encounter between me and the bull on camera. It was pretty special.
Yeah, no, it was crazy. I mean, that's like one of on top of my bucket list is to experience that. I think it must have been more than an adrenaline rush to see that bull in front of you after you called him in.
Well, you saw I got pretty emotional. And I was telling people, they're like, "Man, why'd you get so emotional?" And I'm like, "I've been doing this for 40 years. I've called in a lot of bull elk. I've shot a lot of elk with my bow, but I always tell people to enjoy the journey. And that journey that season was a butt kicker. We had low elk numbers. We had terrible weather where we got just almost snowed out. We had a bear come through and destroy our camp. Like everywhere we turned, nothing was working. And so that afternoon when that bull answered and he came in, I shot him, the whole adrenaline just dumped. And that's what I tell people, just enjoy it. Just enjoy the moment. And you can see I enjoyed that moment.
What's your dream hunting destination?
Man, I've been lucky to do quite a few, but the two things I've always wanted to do, one might not even be a hunt, but I'd like to take a tour down the Amazon River someday. Not a commercial tour, just I'm talking backwoods type thing. And then I do always think that a safari in Tanzania that I've yet to do that. I feel that would be pretty incredible, and to spend some time with the Maasai tribe and just kind of learn about their culture. That's a dream of mine.
Do you have any advice for our listeners out there?
Oh, I probably have a lot of advice. I don't know if any of it's good, but I will tell people this, that if you have a dream, I would say chase it. We're all limited with the days we have on this earth. And I always had this fear that I'm going to be 80 years old laying on my deathbed going, why didn't I try? And so, for the last 10 years, I've been chasing some crazy dreams. You will have a lot of people telling you that you are wrong, you're going to fail. They could be right, but always chase your dreams and always take chances. That would be my advice, and live the life that you want to live, not what others think you should live.
No, that's a great piece of advice, my friend. Thank you for sharing that with our viewers.
Oh, you're welcome.
So where can people go and follow you on social media, and where can they find out more about Giving Back and also Tru Flight Adventures?
Giving Back TV is broadcast on Carbon TV streaming platform as well as Wild TV in Canada. We do also upload all of our episodes and clips and funny clips, everything on YouTube. So YouTube is a pretty good resource to go find everything. As far as social media goes, Giving Back pages are on Instagram and we're on Facebook. And then our website is just truflightadventures.com. There you can see all the hunts we have. You can learn more about Giving Back TV. You can meet the whole team, including you guys and myself and Ozzy and everybody that's part of our teams. We have a blog page. You can read some mildly entertaining blogs every now and then. So you can find a lot there on the website.
Okay, guys, I'll also put all the descriptions inside the description of the podcast. But buddy, I just want to say thank you for joining me on today's podcast. It was really great to share a little bit of our history together and to share people where are you from.
No, it's I appreciate inviting me on and getting to talk and getting to relive some memories, man. It's been a great day.
Thank you for tuning into the Huntech Pro podcast, where the wild hunts are even wilder and where the wild stories come to life. Until the next time, happy hunting.